thank you all for coming. I'm glad we can finally get back to some kind of normalcy. We hope. I don't know what normal is anymore. Got a bunch of notes, things that we need to go through that we haven't gone through in a while. September here is election committee month, I believe we call it. If there is anybody that wants to apply for a position on the board, we need a election committee chairman, and then if they get together, they can submit nominees, and then we will bring them up because the election will be in November. Now, if nobody does want to fill any positions, the board members that are there are willing to go another year and stay in the positions that they're in, but it is open. So if anybody does want to come in, I suggested to them at the board meeting that at the top we could use some new blood, maybe some new ideas, but if anybody is interested, let us know. The board will stay where they are. But according to our bylaws, that's what we have to do. So if anybody does want to be an election chairman, come and talk to me during the break, and we'll get you set up. And then we will also need nominees for the positions. So
when is the election?
Pardon?
When is the election?
November, at the November meeting. Christmas party.
You're welcome to take over.
What?
You're welcome to take this over.
Greg wants out. I said no. The Christmas party. In order for us to have a Christmas party where we have it, we need 50 people. So we don't get the hall unless we have 50. So if you're interested in going, please contact the board member and let them know. I haven't checked into prices, but I'm going to say it's going to be somewhere between $26, $28 a plate. It was 26 2 years ago, so I'm assuming they might have gone, they're going to go up a little bit, but I don't know. But if we don't have 50, we were thinking of having it down here, like if you're a Turner member, you're familiar with it. They just have it down here, everybody brings a dish, they set it all up over there, and you just kind of get together and talk and mingle and everything else. So you let me know, but we have to have 50 to go over by Myers and reserve that hall.
So how do you, is there a sign-up sheet or just like you?
Probably, we should probably get a sign-up sheet going.
Yeah.
So that we know, and then tell me how many. Last year, 2 years ago, we had exactly 50 and ended up with 4 other couples coming at the last minute, so it was kind of nice. They accommodate us with whatever we have. But he told me 50 is the minimum. We have not reserved the hall because they want $50 to reserve the hall, which they apply back to our bill, but we don't take it, we're going to lose out on the 50.
When is the party going to be? When will the Christmas party be?
It's the first Thursday of December.
Will it take place at the meeting?
Yes. Yeah, there is no December meeting. It's just, if you've never been to one, it's a lot of fun. We mingle, they have good food. Myers has got really good food. It's fried chicken and chunks of beef with noodles and mashed potatoes and stuffing and green beans, and we give you a little ice cream sundae at the end. And we'll try to get some entertainment. I don't think we're going to go that route this year because it's so questionable, but we'll see. Normally, we do Woodworker of the Year at the meeting, but this year, because of the COVID, we're not going to have it this year. We're just going to pass on.
Are you going to have toys there?
Yes, well, that's the toy group to bring in at least for one, to set the toys up on the table, but for one of the shelters. Okay. Any other questions, sir? No. Great.
Yeah, okay, if you have the party here and you bring, past dish, is that going to include the spouses, and then are they going to have be entertained enough versus what they get over at Myers?
Well, what we'll probably do is we'll provide the main dish, whether it be hot ham or roast beef or whatever, and the buns and things like that, and the soda, the water. We'll provide that
Versus going there.
versus going there, yeah. And then if everybody brings a dish, then you just open it up and
And I
have
have
at it.
everything.
Pardon?
After writing checks,
Oh, yes.
after writing checks tonight, that's actually the balance.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
That's the overall balance, this is CNC, this is general.
Okay. Okay. Well, I might as well cover that. Right now, we have 108 members. The balance after tonight, with writing the door prize tickets, we have $5,649.87. And in that, we have $1,765 set aside for our CNC machine. So, that's the finances. We got a workshop coming up. We will be sending out notices. It's Ron Peterson. He's going to do those wooden wrist watches. Got the 2.5-inch face that fits in them. He's going to be doing them. We will let you know as far as the time. I think it's a $75 charge for the course. And it's going to cover your material. There will be a $10 gift card for Woodcraft. And I mean, we've got glue and everything else up here, so it basically will come and he's going to show us what to do. So if you are interested in that, either send Ron Peterson an email. I know a couple guys have signed up for it, but I think it's only been 2 or 3. We're going to see. We want to hold it down here, but we got to make sure we have a shop set up for you. So contact him if you're interested.
So 9th and the 23rd of October.
9th and the 23rd of October, so you got some time.
But you gotta go through the safety class.
Yes, you got to go through the safety classes down here, and Rich is going to touch on that in the second half of the meeting tonight, so I won't go over it again. For the toy makers, we've got a pile of pine over there, donated from Bay Madison. So if you are making the toys, and if you want some pine, help yourself. Take what you want as long as it goes to the toys.
Is that pine or hickory?
That's pine.
Okay.
We sold the hickory. We got rid of all the hickory. We got $450 for that pile of hickory over there. So that went into the CNC fund. This year for the woodworking show, we are working on a large hand drill. I want to call it a bit brace, but it's just a crank drill. So if anybody is interested, Jerry has the plans for it. We're going to try to build as much of it down here as we can. You can take the parts home because a lot of it's got to be done on a lathe. So if you have a lathe, probably you're going to want to take it home and play with it. So if you are interested in that, come and see either Jerry or myself. Probably wouldn't start for maybe another month.
Yeah, October 2nd.
October 2nd? Okay. We'll send out notice, but if you are interested in that, we'll go that way. Trying to think of the gentleman. Wernish. Greg Wernish. Send me an email. For those of you that might be interested, there's an open house at St. Lucas in Bayview. Greg is quite a historian, so this place was put up like in 1785 or 1885 or something like that. It's an old building. They actually have a woodworking shop in there. They call it STEM, which means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they're teaching kids how to do it. And they have several 3D printers over there. And they're teaching these young kids how to use them. So if anybody is interested, they have an open house on October 21st, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. And the address is 648 East Dover Street. If you're interested, just come on over, maybe shoot a picture of this with your phone, or send me an email, and I'll be glad to forward the article to you that Greg sent to me.
Ron?
Yes, sir.
Name of the street.
I'm sorry.
Name of the street.
Dover. Dover, D-O-V-E-R. At the last meeting, we gave the VFW a donation plus 14 pens, and Tom has the results of his auction. You want to come up, Tom?
Okay.
Those of you that were here last month, and all of you, I just want to thank you for donating to the National Home for Children. It's in Eaton Rapids, Michigan, and what it is it's children of veterans that have no place to live, or families that are split up, that the father or the mother can't find a job. They will go to the National Home, and the National Home will allow them to be there up to 3 years. During the 3 years, the kids will be all taken care of in daycare, and the adults can go to school, and in their 3rd year, when they graduate from school, they are expected to find a job and go out on their own. But the National Home actually has people there that if you call the National Home and you're a veteran and have a problem, they have a source to find answers for things that you may need or problems that you may have. So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. So this is the certificate of appreciation awarded to the Wisconsin Woodworkers Guild from the National Home for Children. I'll leave that up here. And I do have a letter, and the letter says, I'd like to extend my personal gratitude for the patriotic gift of $190 from the sale of handcrafted pens and a check for $100 to the children of the National Home. Thank you. Parents will gain support, counseling, and the time to heal from their wounds of war. Meanwhile, their children have the chance to lead a normal life, receive proper education, and they make lifelong friends and learn to cherish their family, their school, and their country. The National Home receives no government funding. It's only through your support that we can continue to assist military and veteran families. Put simply, we couldn't do it without you. On behalf of everyone at the National Home, thank you for helping us remain a safe haven for families of our nation's heroes. P.S. The National Home is a 501c3 organization, so your contribution is taxable, tax deductible. So there's a letter, and again, I personally like to thank you because it's one of my favorite. I mentioned it last month that I actually carved birds for the National Home, and at our national convention, I sold 50 birds for $2,000, and the VFW National Home got the $2,000. So they were appreciated. Normally at our national convention, the kids come from the National Home and they have a choral group that sings, but because of COVID, we couldn't have the kids come this year. But next year, we hope to have them back. And if anyone's interested, there is a website, VFW National Home, and it does have videos of kids going to day camp, videos of kids in their school, and a lot of interesting information. So again, thank you for all that you did to make their day a little better. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much. If anybody is interested, we have pen kits here. We did get a donation of 1,200 pen kits. We have some of them, a bunch of them in boxes. So if you are interested, we will give you the pen kit. We'll even give you the blank if that's what you want to do. If you want to turn a pen for the VFW, just let me know. We can look through the boxes. If you're looking for a specific one, if we have it, I'll be glad to give it to you. Turn the pen, bring it back in. Next year, I'd like to see if we can at least do 25, increase it. It's for a good cause. So, and I'd like to make this an ongoing thing every year if we can. So, Tom, thank you very much. Thank you for what you're doing. Okay, schedule for the rest of the year. October, Tracy and Keith Anton, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Tracy and Keith are coming next month to do 2-part epoxy cutting boards. I ran into her and her husband at, we went to a craft fair in West Bend, beginning of the year. And she puts out some nice looking boards. They're 2-part epoxy, so she adds color, she does everything else. So she was waiting for me to call her. So when I called her and asked her, she said, this is I can't think of the date in October, I did not write it down, I apologize for that. But it's their anniversary. I said, are you sure you want to do this on your anniversary? I said, you're going to be with like 40 to 60 woodworkers. And she said, well, that's fine. She said, I don't mind. She said, we'll be there. So she's going to be there in October. November is going to be part 2. All of those little slats that we got from Dave Addison, I've been turning those into cutting boards. And Ron Peterson has some ideas on a cutting board, so that's going to be in November. I'm going to bring them in and show you. I'm hoping to have 6 different styles of them, so that'll be November. December, of course, is our Christmas party, and that'll either be at Myers if we have enough, or it'll be down here. And January is really the meeting that I know you all look forward to. It's the financial meeting. So there will be no speakers.
I'll be absent that day.
No, you won't. Greg is going to take over, and then we will let you know everything that happened in the last year, which wasn't much. But we'll go over everything. So if you want to know where the money is going, what we're doing with it, if you have any questions, if you have any complaints, anything, come to that meeting and voice your opinion, whatever you have. So, with that being said, I want to thank Jerry Anson for stepping in tonight. I've been turned down 6 times in the last 3 months trying to get somebody to come in, either from Wild Birds Unlimited, from the, trying to think of that bird group. There's a Audubon. The Audubon Society, a couple nature centers, and I was turned down 6 times. So Jerry offered to fill in. I haven't given up yet. I got another guy that gave me the name last week. And I wasn't going to call him real quick. You know, I didn't want to bother him during the Labor Day weekend, and I thought Tuesday's not much notice. So Jerry offered to fill in. So we're going to have Jerry fill in for the first half tonight, and then Rich is going to fill in on the second half to go over some of the training modules that we have to go through down here to satisfy our insurance. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Rich. And I'm going to let Jerry take over.
Good evening. Anybody hear me on the speakers all right, Pat? Okay, very good. Well, we should be all right. All right, thank you. A little louder, Jerry. Okay.
Got old people up front.
All right. Oh, all right, a little louder. Okay. I haven't said much yet. I'm trying to figure out where I want to go here for a second. I was looking, anybody?
Move your microphone up.
How about that? Is that better? Better? Okay, very good. All right. Does anybody go on Pinterest and get stuck and spend 8 hours there watching all this stuff? You know, it's easy to do, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. I was on there the other day and a bunch of stuff that pops out about doing Mandala paintings on rocks. Right? That looked really interesting to me. It didn't appear to be difficult. And it looked very pretty. And I had a lot of paints. I'll show you some of my paints. I got 3 tubs this size just full of bottles of paint. When they're on sale, I go buy a couple $100 worth. I use it for many different things. But I was over at my neighbor's, my neighbor's house the other day, and she happened to have this rock sitting out on her ledge of the house. Right? And I said, that would be my first shot at making a rock painted Mandala. Right? So, can I borrow that rock from you? She's like, sure. So I borrowed it, and this is what I turned it into. You see that all right? Where's my camera guy?
He's coming.
Well, Jerry, you made it really long.
No,
I don't
hold on.
think he's going into the mic.
Hold on. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better, yeah.
Okay.
This old man's can't carry it.
All right, that's all right. We'll try it as loud as we can. All right? Can you see that? It's a new camera, guy, so it's going to take a little while.
All right.
There we go. How about that? Okay, so that was the first thing I did. All right? And those are just a bunch of dots. All right, painted on there. And I'll show you how you do that. All right? Now, I got a little ambitious at that. Instead of putting that out on the house now, she puts it in the house. I got a little ambitious, and I decided I would try something else. So, this is a Beads of Courage box that I made. I think I showed this to you a couple of times ago. And this is the pattern I did on there. And again, it's just a bunch of dots. Different diameters. Okay. And so that was my second project.
How are you putting those dots on?
I'll show you. You're rushing the thing. I gotta get up to that.
Okay, what does that happen here?
I put it in the state fair and won the first prize in my category. That'll be going to the hospital for the Beads of Courage children. Okay. Yeah. Some of the stuff you need to do dots. You need to buy paint. All right? You can buy this set of colors. Like there's 36 colors in it. All right? They're 2-ounce bottles. Okay? At Menards, I bought them for $24. I don't know if they're still that price or not. All right? So, but that's a good set of paints. They're thicker than your normal craft paints that you find at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Okay? And you find if you do this quite often, these paints, you know, they're, excuse me, in the same bottle size and everything, they're different manufacturers, they're different viscosity. Some are very thick, some are very thin, and some are just perfect. All right? So you'll have to figure that out for yourself or which ones you like. Right? If it comes out like a worm, it's too thick. It won't work for it. You got to thin it down to like a cream, call it a cream. Okay?
Jerry, what do you thin it down with? Is it water?
No. Well, you could if you wanted to use water. Yeah. What I do in order to maintain the acrylics, okay, you can buy, this is called a flow extender. One drop of this and about a teaspoon of paint is enough to thin it down, so it looks good. Okay. Or you can buy pouring medium to do the same thing. Thank you. Okay. And what I do is I use this one right now. Okay. 20 drops of water to 1 drop of this. And that's why I put in this little bottle. Okay? You get that into the paint. I use a Q-tip. Okay? Because all I do is I stick the Q-tip in there and then squeeze a drop, or squeeze another drop on the cotton part, or wherever I think I need. And then I mix it up with toothpick. Mix it up with a toothpick. Right? And I put them in this little palette holder here. This paint goes into here. And you mix it up and you can put multiple colors in these little pockets here. Okay? Unfortunately, this is the way I'm doing it now, but you tend to waste a lot of paint this way. because you have to fill this up enough in order to make the dotting tool work correctly, but you never use all the paint. All right? So I throw a lot of paint away. Now, if I don't mix it with some other color to change it, then I can scoop it up and put it back in the bottle. Right back in the paint bottle. Okay? What the professional dotters do is they buy these little, how many of you have done paint by number sets, right? And they come in those little bottles with the little snap-on caps. Well, they buy those across the internet from Amazon, and they can buy 50 of them for $20 or something like that. And then they put their colors in there, okay? And that's where they dip their dotting tool in. And then they just close it up and they don't waste any paint. So I may consider doing that if I do this a lot. Any questions this part? Okay. That is something to paint on, right? I showed you rocks. These are new rocks. You can do it on foam board. This is just a piece of foam board that I cut, all right? Okay. You can leave it white like this. But I would suggest you paint it white. Okay? The reason I say that, this is from experience. I didn't bring it with me this time, but I made a painting about this tall, about this wide, of all dots. People in our bathroom, in yellows and grays. Okay? And what happens is, sometimes as you're moving the tool over, it makes a little drop where you don't want it. Okay? Or sometimes you're working this into paint and you put your finger in it when you don't want to. Right? Well, if you're on this, it's very hard to fix. Right? But if you paint it white, then you can just paint over it. Then all over the place. Okay? Or you can paint it black. Okay? Most of the times you'll see these mandalas, they're either on white backgrounds or black backgrounds. But they don't have to be. Okay? But that's the majority. You can find squares like this, but even though they're black, I still paint them, just for that protection. Okay? But a mistake. You can canvas squares. Okay? So I bought a bunch of these canvas squares, still paint them. Now, you can paint them with this paint as an undercoat, okay? Or you can use what's called a gesso, G-E-S-S-O. It comes in black or white, okay? On canvas, it works really good. It gives the canvas a good surface to paint on, okay? And you can use it on anything the same way. Okay? Either way, it's going to take 2 coats usually to do it. Okay? You can, this is an elm branch that I got from down here a couple meetings ago. So I just cut it into biscuits, put a black circle on it, so you can put dots on there and make it like a coaster, or you can set it up for just a picture or something like that. So you can just paint a circle like that. You can paint it solid like that. You can offset a circle instead of being in the center. Put your center off to the side and only do part of it, right? The big picture I did for the bathroom I just talked about, that wasn't the full circle. I had the center about 1.5 inches off to the side. So I just did this part, okay? So, or you could do it just on the plain piece. All these up here, if you got paints at home, you want to try it, you can take any of those you want. There's a big wall.
How do you paint the circle so well?
I'm sorry?
How do you paint the circle so well?
I just used a brush. I used a compass, made a circle, and a brush, and a brush, and just brushed it. Yeah, you need a nice brush. This is the brush I use. It's about a 3/4 inch brush, right? But it's very nice, very soft. very soft bristles, and they hose the paint very well, hose an edge very well. So it's very easy. You just take the brush, and just move it around there like that, and stay on that line, and you circle it.
You do it by hand.
By hand, yeah. Yeah. I suppose you could make a template out of something, you know, and stick on here and then clean it and tear the template off if you wanted to. But, I can still paint with the brush pretty good and hold the line. All right? Okay. Here's the stuff I was hoping to have finished, but as far as I got was the black. You can do it on cups, plates, jars. Okay. You leave it black, not paint it black, just do it right on the jar. And I will say that doing a round surface is a little more difficult than doing it flat. Okay, but it can be done. There's another one I haven't done yet. This is a little bowl that I turned. I was going to turn the top so that you could just grab the edges, take the top off, right? Do the mandala on the top and then all the way down here. And you can go down and around bottom if you want to. Just depends on what your design is and what you want to do with it. Okay. When I get these both done, I'll bring them in one of the meetings. Okay, so let's go back to what did I do here? Watched it already. Right in front of it, the rock. Let me show you the rock. This was, remember, the first one I didn't have any real Mandala tools, you know, so they said if you don't have Mandala tools and you don't want to buy any, you can look around your house and find all kinds of Mandala tools. You know? So I started doing that. So here's my tools. It's an eraser. All right? It's round, cylinder, okay? When you dip it in the paint, go down like that, pick up, makes a dot. So that's right, you're looking for a tool that makes a dot, that diameter. What that is? A map again. It's like a Mandala. All right, it's round, okay? Now this one here, the yellow and black on the tips. It's a straight pin with the plastic ends. There's a round end in here. Ball bearing. I glued onto a popsicle stick. Glue gun glue stick. Or regular gun. A big plastic ball on the end of a toothpick. Not a toothpick, a popsicle stick. A dowel rod. There's another glue stick, smaller diameter. Q-tips, without the fuzzy stuff, the cotton on the end of it. Right? A toothpick, with tiny dots. And then this one I bought a long time ago, at a craft show. Didn't know why. I thought I would need it someday. And it's actually a tool, and it's got a round ball here and a round ball on here, right? Different diameters. Right? The girls that paint fingernails use these. Unless they're really good, then they use very small brushes. Okay? And the ones that really do a good job on mandalas, that are professionals, use a brush. And it's a pointed brush, round pointed brush, and you just touch it and then form the dot at the tip of that brush. I've never tried that yet. These were always, this is what I started with. Okay? And these work, because that's what I did this with. Okay? And it's curved surfaces, it's not all flat. Since then, I decided, well, I think I'll invest in some tools. So this is some of the tools that I got. You know, you can buy tools, you can buy these individually. There's a bunch. It comes with these, or you can buy a kit where you got a lot of stuff with it. You got a box full of tools and brushes, templates, all kinds of things. It just depends on what you're looking at on Amazon. These are acrylic rods of different diameters. That's all they are, just an acrylic rod. Different diameters. All the way down to that size. And that makes a different size dot. The paint tends to flow off of those easier than some of the homemade items that you find around the house. Because that's what you want, when you make the dot, you want that paint to flow off easily to form the dot. You don't want to have to take it out and all of a sudden you're taking some of the paint with it.
Jared, I assume that the ends of those things all have to be flat.
No, on those acrylic rods, they're flat. Yes, right, they are flat. Which makes them a little harder to use because they're flat. Because of that, you tend to push a little harder, and it kind of deforms the dot a little bit. Or it pushes the paint out the sides and causes the dot to be larger than what you intended it to be. So you just have to learn how to use it. Some people, when they use acrylic rods, they don't even touch the item with the rod. They just touch it with the paint. Right? But you got to have a lot of finesse to be able to do that. And I haven't managed that yet. So here's the other tools that you get with it. There's all of these tools with the little round balls and hands. Okay? So you can go for a ball end that you can hardly see on the end, or something like that. Okay? So these are the tools that I use now to make these things with. Now I'll show you some of the things I've done so far today.
So Jerry, a ball and a flat is a different kind of dot. Right?
No, same kind of dot.
Yeah.
Right, it's just that I think the balls are a little bit easier to use than the rods, is all. Okay? The dots you can kind of judge where to touch the point where you want it, right? And if you this is like a practice board for that first item. Okay, I would dip it in the dot and then I'd go in here to find out how big the dot was going to be. Okay.
Same size ball, different depth of the paint is going to be different size.
Yes, right. These are different sizes. Yep.
But the balls are round on the bottom, right?
It's a ball.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a ball.
It's not
round.
flat.
Nope, no flat at all. Perfectly round. Here's one of these discs. This is what I made with the disc. Okay. Okay. A little closer. Focus. There you go. Oh, that's beautiful. I'll pass it around. This is all that has a finish on it, there's no problem.
How long would it take you to make something?
I could probably do this one in an hour. Bigger ones,
How long would it take a normal person?
45 minutes?
Run a 70.
Yeah, oh, I just said it was in a giveaway down here for $20.
There's always any no one.
I don't know where it came from, it's just a log about that long. Those paints, colors you won't find in here, but they came out of here. And they're all mixed. In order to get pastels, I mixed every color I wanted with white to get that pastel color. This is another one I made. Okay. Now, This is turned on a lathe. It's just a piece of wood, all right, 3/4 inch, a little thicker. It's pine. It's about 1.5 inches. I turned it on a lathe, create that rock shape. Now, you can buy rubber molds in different diameters and sizes and shapes to make plaster things like this for Mandala rocks. Okay.
So Jerry, is that the essential smoothness so that it doesn't run in the grain or anything?
Well, it should be, it's smooth. If you don't have it smooth, it's not going to fill the grain where it's going to miss a spot really. Yeah, so it should be smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect, because rocks are perfect.
Jerry, I think you should do all your Easter eggs like that.
Oh, all right.
Now my Easter eggs is bad.
You'll see a lot of these on the Pinterest. Okay, that's a tea light. Okay, and they make molds for this. This was actually turned on the lathe also.
Jerry, when you started doing that, do you have something in mind, or you just kind of let it evolve as you start?
Well, I got to try it kind of both ways. The rock was totally my own imagination what I was doing, but I looked at a lot of patterns on Pinterest, so I knew what was possible, what you could be doing. Okay? And sometimes I'll take one of their patterns and I'll start it, but then I'll modify it or change it or change the colors or something like that.
If you really don't start with something on wood, on paper or something,
No, I just started.
you start putting
Yeah.
that kind of
Just start.
Do you take a compass and make a few rings in there so you stay?
Yes and no. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Right. What they normally do is, now, say, when I paint one of these, okay, I'll do the corners, okay, and then I'll measure into my horizontal and vertical, okay, and then if I want more dots than that on those lines, then I break it up again. Depends on how many dots I want to do, okay, and that finds me the center. And normally, you start in the center with one dot and you work out from there. You don't have to, but normally you do. I use a standard compass, okay? This is a white marker. This is a charcoal white pen, right? Because you need a white marker that you can erase after you've done it, okay? So you gotta let the acrylic dry, usually overnight, and the next day you can erase those white marks. If you use a regular white pencil, it doesn't erase as easily. This is almost something like chalk. It wears down real fast, okay? But it comes off real easy. And I just use a white eraser, soft white eraser.
And when you paint over that white line,
Yes,
it doesn't
no,
prohibit the paint.
not at all, not a bit, not a bit. Sometimes if I need a weird angle, then I use this, okay? It's like a protractor. It's a 360-degree projector. Okay? So I can set that on here, line it up with my line, and rotate it and get what I want. Make a line. There's a little divot in here that you can make the line on. Right? Just make a mark and make the line. Okay? It depends on how complex and how difficult it's going to be. And you'll find yourself getting off of those lines. Okay, that makes you mad sometimes. Okay? But it happens. It just happens.
Gary, do you use a magnifying glass in your books?
I do not. No. I take my glasses off. I can't see that close with my glasses. So I have to take them off.
Jerry,
Yes.
you seal that with anything, like the coasters?
This is what I use. I just use this. Okay. This is a Rust-Oleum satin clear. Okay. This is satin. And I give it 2 coats of that. I do it on the rock, on the paper, on the plastic, the glass.
What about a coffee cup that's warm?
If it's warm,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it if it's warm. Because it might affect the paint and it cause the paint to run too. That's the other thing, if you're on a real curved surface, and it could run, so you gotta be careful about that too. Why would you wanna do it on a hot coffee cup?
Well, you do it on a cold coffee cup, and then you cover it with something so it'd be.
Oh, as far as I know, it doesn't hurt. I've never tried it, but I've seen people, on pictures, a lot of people do the coffee cups. Now, do they continue to put coffee in it, or do they put something cold in it? I don't know, I haven't tried it. This whole thing to me is brand new. I've only done it for about a month, so I don't know everything.
Now, what did you call that type of painting?
It's a Mandela,
Mandela.
yes.
Now,
M-A-N-A-D-L-A.
is it mimicked after something? Because there were people that used to do that type of painting, and they would have, with those dots, it would mimic the Indian beads,
Yeah.
and they do that on motorcycles.
Yes, yes. I don't know the origin of it. I think it's just a design, geometric design in general. Because I've seen dot mandalas and I've seen just geometric mandalas, I've seen
Yeah.
painted mandala. They're all different techniques, but they're all called mandalas. This is what I've done, what I'm showing you is what I've done in the last 3 days.
On the wood one, the little wooden coaster,
Uh-huh.
you've got some that are adopted with a line on it. I take it that you did that with the brush.
No,
How'd you get the line then?
I'm going to try to show you later, but, okay? You put your dot and you move it. And as you move it, it just thins out that point. Sometimes it works real nice, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, what I've seen other people do on Pinterest again, they have a lot of videos. Okay? If you want to see someone doing the dot, you have to realize they're doing it 10 times speed. Because they'll sit there and they're done. You know, the video is about 3 minutes long. But at least it gives you an idea of what can be done. Right? But what they'll do is they'll make a dot, and then they'll come back with a smaller tool and drag the paint out to form that crescent. Okay. I've done it both ways. And what I've done recently, I find it easier to just go back and move this with it, move this to it. Okay. When you start out, you might want to just do this one. Okay? That gives you an idea of what you can do, what it feels like. All right? You don't need any tools. Look around your house, find dowel rods, a plastic garage or something. You know? Okay? So now this one, I haven't finished it yet. There's no coating on it. So I could take it back and do a lot more with this than what you see here. Okay? And you'll find out when you start doing this, you'll do the same thing. All right? You'll start maybe with this one, and you'll pick it up tomorrow, and you'll do a lot more to it. Okay? This one's not much more difficult, all right? But it looks difficult. All right? And this, I can pass these around too, so you get closer to it. But you notice, now this one's just a single dot, right? One color. Okay? This one, you've got a different color dot in it now, in places. So everybody got spots. Okay? And this has got one of those dot special. I just put it in there. Okay?
Very, those first ones you passed around, did you ever work off a pattern, or did you just come up with this something?
Most of it is do local plan. Well, sometimes what I'll do Right. I'll go into Pinterest and I'll find something like that and I'll print it. Okay? Now this one's kind of unique because of the circular intersection pattern that's in it. Okay, I've never done one like that yet. Okay? This one is all metallic paints. Okay? Now I bought all the paints to do this one, just never got to it yet. Okay? Jewelry. Alright? So you can buy unpainted discs like this, or you can turn them yourself, alright, and make jewelry like this. So that's an option. So, I mean, there's just about anything to be painted, put the dots on it.
Jerry, on this one that you have a candle with,
Yes.
have you ever tried to burn the candle, and does that damage the,
No, I have not tried yet. As far as I know, it does not. I'm sure a lot of it does.
I'm trying to think of things, names that you search on Pinterest, you search Mandala.
Yes,
That's what
just say
I'm
dot
thinking of.
Mandela.
And that's, you know, Mandala, or else maybe dot matrix,
No.
or Pinterest.
Well, once you start with dot Mandela, then you'll get a lot of different stuff that comes in. Okay? Then you just work from there. Okay? I've done, you can do like glass dot mandalas, you know, or T-light mandalas, stuff like that, or box mandalas. I'll show you boxes that have been painted with mandalas.
Jeff, when you paint on top of the one that you painted,
Yes.
instead of a dot on a dot,
Yes.
do you have to wait for the initial one to dry?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've never tried one that wasn't dry.
Okay.
All right. I suppose you could try it and see what happens. All right. You might get a nice marble effect or something. We had mentioned earlier that some of the stuff that you buy a kit of all the tools and stuff, they come with templates. And this is just some of the templates. There's about 25 templates here. It's just a piece of plastic, but they've got your lines and your circles already laid out. So you can set this on where you want it, take your white pencil, draw it right off the bill. And that's what you can start with.
These kits are really cheap on Amazon, they're like $16.
Oh, yeah, they're very cheap.
And you
Yeah.
get all that stuff that you're talking about.
Exactly. It's not expensive at all.
Good thing it's right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be starting round. You want that? One color, and it's a heart. Who's moving? Yeah, something like that, with that heart. I've actually seen him do mandalas of a lion's face, Marilyn Monroe's face, butterflies all over the place, you know. So it's still called a mandala. It's still not a round or square, it's all dots. It can be anything you want it to be. I even saw one, a lady painted dot mandala on a real leaf. Now, I don't know what's going to happen when the light dries out, but she did. How about this one? The hardest thing about that one going around, that tree, is getting the variegated background. I started with white on the top, a gray in the middle, black on the bottom, and just start brushing it across it and mixing the paints, trying to get a variegated look. Use that brush. Yep. Yep. Yeah. You know, you can use any colors you want. I mean, it's yours, right? You can do whatever you want. Sometimes you can go on the Pinterest and look up color theory, and they'll tell you what nice colors go together. Right? It can be 3 colors or 5 colors, whatever you want. Sometimes it's a rainbow. Here's one that's all yellows with white. Okay. Different shades of yellow. It says you don't have to have this.
I noticed that the paint is kind of raised or dimpled.
Yes.
How long do you have to let it sit to dry?
Well, sometimes that will affect what you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want it to flow out, so it's just a little foam. It usually dries in about an hour.
Okay. Do you ever get cracking on some of the larger dots? Cracking where the paint.
Well, yeah, if it's in a real high heat, you can't put another dot on top of it. It just won't work. But if it's a nice little crescent dome, then there's no problem. And that dome comes on there because your paint is just a little bit too thick.
Okay.
When you pull your tool up, it pulls that paint up and causes that dome. Here's one on blue background. Okay. So now we got blues. It's supposed to be all blues and white. It looks like there's a blend in there. The Bible said it was a blue. You saw all the ones going around that were dots on dots. Right? Here's a dot on dot with a totally different pattern because you offset the top dot. Okay? Ask me how long it took to do something. This one here actually took me about 3 hours. I'm off with all your work. Now this one is actually has some metallic things in it. The gold and the green is metallic.
Are there metallic paints in that box?
No, always something.
No, just thinking, if you're gonna do jewelry, it might be cool to set in the black bottoms for lots of crystals.
Sure.
That would be very
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
What'd you say?
It might be, interesting to put, flat bottoms for Rossi crystals,
Oh, yeah,
for like jewelry.
yeah.
Yeah. This one, I didn't get finished. I was hoping to get it finished. This one is extra small dots in there. Some of those dots in there were done with a straight end. Not the tip, may not be with the pointy end. And I'm actually getting too old to do that type of work. Because I was holding, the pin was about this long, so it's long. And if I'm holding it, going at a little bit, trying to get that. And my hand was shaking like crazy. Okay, so let me have a drink. Water or what?
So what I do by somewhere at the dots on the side, that kind of thing.
Thank you, sir.
Happens spots on the dots.
Let's see if we can do one. I always, if I can hear it, it sounds like a good consistency to me. Right? When you shake one and you can't hear it, that's too thick. Or when you squeeze it, you only want to drop, right? And you squeeze it and you get a worm about a ½ inch long. Right? If you go on Pinterest and look this up and ask, what is the best acrylic paint for doing dyes? They'll usually say, a brand I didn't bring, Americana. It tends to be the right consistency but not every color. And when I was buying these paints, I was buying whichever one was on sale. Right? I didn't care about consistency at the time. All right, so I got 2 greens here. Let's see here. Let's take this big ball here, put it in the big green. Okay, just skip it in the paint. Come over. Look at that. Here's your first dot. All right. I thought I brought some people to tell you. Over here. They're over there? I got them. I got some. Thank you. The other thing you want to do is after you've made a dot and you're through with it, make sure you clean all the paint off the tool. Right, you don't want paint drying on here. That's going to affect your dots the next night. Okay? All right. Let's go with a smaller one. Okay? One dot, please. All right. Okay, now if you're going to make a ring of dots, if I'm going to make dots around that, okay, I want the dots to be all the same diameter. I use the tool, but I have to dip it every time, for every dot.
You don't have to wipe it off.
Nope, not like, only when you're through with it.
Right.
If you get a good dot the first time, you can usually just work around there without a problem. What you do when you start out with, though, the first time you do this, okay? So the first time you do it, you usually want to start at the top, at the bottom, right, and left. Okay? Now you know how many dots you're going to be able to put in between it, 1 or 2 or more. If you have an idea, right? Okay? Then go to the 45s. Right, and then work that way. If you watch the videos on Pinterest, they'll just start and just keep going around. You'll see their hand grip. Like that. Paint that, paint that, paint that. Okay, now, let's give me another one here. Now, another secret, or not secret, but process, if I can write up there. You see, you got a ring of dots like that, okay? Now, normally when you do your next ring of dots, if that's what you're going to do, you tend to go here, like this, in those areas then, okay? When you do the next ring, if this is your center lines across here, then you go back to your center lines again. So you tend to get a little bigger dot because you're going further away now. All right, so you need a bigger dot to fill in the center. Well, if you're too far apart and you don't like it, you can come back and you can put 2 or 3 small dots between it. All right, remember it's your design, all right? Okay. And you'll see that technique that I showed. Okay, all right, now I've got some more dots on here, okay? Now let's do walking the dots. Okay? We're going to walk the dots. Skip it in the paint. You go to the end, mean, you just keep going, right along that circle. Okay? You gotta find me. You gotta find me. The other way. The other way.
There you go.
There you go, buddy.
Which one did you start with?
Start with
Now,
the biggest one.
did the dots get smaller as you went, or did
Yes.
it get bigger? They're
Smaller.
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 And you never went back to.
No,
Walking the dot.
walking the dots. That's what they call it, walking the dots. Okay? Now, one technique is to there we go. One technique is to start at the center with your high point, the biggest dot, and working down. Okay? And when you come back, you start at the center one again and walk down. Okay? Now sometimes that makes the center one a little bit bigger. That's all right. It's a nice design. That dot is bigger than the others. Okay? Sometimes what you can do also is dip your paint, make your first dot on something else, and then come over and start your second dot or whatever. Then they tend to be the same as you go around.
Sorry.
There you go. Now, if you've got a big wad for dot, you're going to run out of paint, right? Eventually, okay? I've only did 4 dots there. I could probably do 6 without running out of paint, okay? But if you're going to do more than that, what you need to do then is go to a smaller tool to do your last few. That's just going to take practice on you on which tool, what it looks like. You could probably dip it in here and say, that's the dot, start the dot size I want to start with, and then walk that one. Okay? Now, you can do it around it like that, or you can do it as a straight line also. See how we got right there? That was just one different thing, and you just keep got it. The swirl, okay? Take a dot and run it out. Leaving the tool down and just run it out.
Camera 1.
There you go, see?
Yes.
You ready to go right? Okay. So you just make your dot and drag your tool up. You get to that point that you want. So that was a straight one. Further also, same way.
Did you go back 3 times on that?
That was 3 different, yes, each
I
time.
wonder if you tried using the same paint and see what.
I
You
think
can do it. I mean, it's a.
Yeah, you'd run out of paint because you've thinned it out already when you made the line,
Oh, okay. I see.
right? Yeah. I can't think of anything else right now. Questions? I mean, there's a tons of different patterns and shapes you can make with dots like that. You know, it's just, it's nice and limit. And these things are like snowflakes. There's no tool life, ever. Yes?
So we're drawing it out, were you bringing, the tool up?
No, I just drag it out.
You got it.
Always down
One
one.
at the end of that.
It just runs out of heat. Yeah, it just runs out of heat. If you was, I would think if you would draw it out and stop, you might get some more paint at the end because it's coming off the ball. And as you move it, it's flowing to that center of the ball and just stopping.
When you get these on all hard surfaces, what about a piece of cardboard that you can put the paint on? Would it work on that and would it be fine with that?
Yeah, acrylic paints generally are, as long as the paint is stuck very well to it. If it's vibrant, I can take off if it's not.
I mean, like for, gift cards.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely fine, sure. No problem at all.
Terry, why don't we take a break and then they come up and they can ask you?
Okay. Sure.
Take 10 minutes.
I have these for sale over here. Anniversary presents, Christmas.
Keep an eye on your shoes.
Oh my God, what is those new
This is, I got that in the hobby skills. Yeah. My clothes are I generally don't do that, I just use it to draw the lines. I think I got that at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's probably about 2 years old, so I'm not sure. What, yes, that's a really good one. And you could fill it with water, you don't have to use it as a display. It's just that, I find this, that it keeps the crook in the off. Talk about Pinterest, is there like a place to go? Nothing, you can learn, they have videos on Pinterest. Yeah, that show you how to do it. You just gotta search around. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of those, I think so. I said it probably 5 years ago, I used to.
They do have this at Hobby Lobby. It's a lot more expensive.
For the same set?
It's actually got like 4, 6 in a row.
Right.
Ridiculous. This is great.
Yeah, when I saw that, my wife says, I know you're going to buy it. She said, I knew you were going to have to go buy one.
Well, as soon as you told Don, I was on that thing like, oh my God. I haven't tried it yet, but now that I know kind of what.
Oh, yeah.
They do that anything.
I don't know of any surface you can't do that. I've seen them go to material polish. You might need a different, for that.
Well, I would like a little more sturdy than this, but this is like a practice set for you, right?
Yeah, you could put it on here, it's better or not.
Yeah. Yes, it's so much easier.
My
Off of,
mother used to use something like this.
Mandala.
I swear to God. Yes, I know, but she used this for something that had something wrong with it.
When you play,
I've seen that.
what else on it? There's a piece of copper. You can design it. This is
Yeah, it's less than $15 on Amazon. Yeah, and they give you like 40 of these.
Where?
I just on Amazon. I just looked up what he was talking about. Mandala tools.
Put them on here.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is just scraps. And for this, $25 for this, for under $40 you can do when you put it in the home. Especially when you start getting, sign that. That's gonna
And
be
he
worth
didn't even get it, so.
10,000 bucks when I'm sure.
Exactly.
No, you should sign your work. Because it's here, so you should miss the month and the year, and you don't see your progression.
Yeah.
Have you done a big one yet?
The biggest one I got was the bathroom.
And he did it when he was in there. Every time you go in there, he
Like,
did
body and do artwork.
I wasn't gonna say it, but that's what I would do. Right on the wall.
Second
When
office.
you look at pictures, things, circles this big, you know, huge.
Because I thought, a nice size, but it's and I saw that online.
Yeah.
Turquoise.
You gotta watch it.
Yes, that's why you want to clean it.
Yeah.
Because then you can go back to the clean over that and
I took pictures of that. And those,
no.
We used to do that with
I didn't see you coming, sir.
I snuck in. I was late.
Oh, did you get my tickets then?
Your traffic tickets? I probably didn't.
Yeah.